I'm sorry, was that noise annoying? Welcome in to the Bro Force Squad podcast, our non-spoilers review of Blade Runner 2049. I'm your host, Jeff Hornacek. Alongside me is the possible replicant, maybe a human, Matt Geiger, here to grade the newest Blade Runner release on our 5 criteria: acting, cast, story, plot, best scene, rewatchability, and impacts on pop culture. Let's dive right into it. Matt Geiger, on paper, star-studded cast. What did you think?
So Blade Runner 2049, which seems how long in hours this fucking runtime was when we just got out of the theater. I'll leave Gosling to you. Dude, Warner Brothers, so we all remember the chick in high school that we kind of just banged but didn't want any of our friends to know about, we kind of didn't pay attention to until we just wanted to ask. Is that Jared Leto to Warner Brothers? Because every time he's in a movie, I get a hard-on for it, then I come there and you give me, literally, we won't spoil this for you, he's in 2 fucking scenes. Dave Bautista, 1 scene. Harrison Ford, 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours into it, doesn't even fucking show up. And then there's Ryan Gosling, who I'll leave to you. He basically does his best Freddie Prinze Jr. impression on just playing dark and ominous the whole time.
Guys, if this is the first episode of the Bro Force Squad you've ever listened to, there's 2 movies we've ever reviewed that we didn't like. This is by far the worst one we've ever done. If you are a huge Blade Runner fan, maybe this is for you. If you're someone who maybe 35 years in between sequels is a little long, then I'm with you. This cast, great on paper, they're not fucking in the movie. Unless you like Ryan Gosling steering into space and catching any type of precipitation in his hands.
Or bees.
Yeah, or bees or worms. You'll be disappointed. He needs Emma Stone because this was a miss. All right, on to the second part of our grading criteria. The story and the plot. Geiger, lay it on him.
So, we don't want to spoil it for you, but I'm going to ask a question. Does Harrison Ford have cancer or something? Do we need to watch him? Because why is he digging up all these movies he's done in the past and trying to remake them? Listen, my dad was alive in the 80s. He did a lot of shit. Porn mustaches, leisure suits, listening to the Bee Gees, but he doesn't fucking relive it in 2017. He just leaves it in the past. This story, I remember the first one vaguely, but it was can we be honest? It was a shit movie, so I don't relive it every single year. It's not in my DVD collection or in my rotation. So basically, Ryan Gosling is a Blade Runner, just like Harrison Ford was, and something happens. He's on a case, and he wants to find him to ask him a bunch of questions. Jared Leto plays the villain, I guess. There's no fight scenes at all. There's no fight scenes in the end with Leto, and he's only in 2 scenes. I don't know what else to say about the story. It's set in the future. That's kind of cool, I guess.
So Denis Villeneuve, who I had worshipped the ground he walked on. I loved Arrival, I loved Sicario, and I loved Prisoners. I don't know what this was, guys. There is a narrative in it, but I feel like we could have cut out about 70% of the scenes in this movie. And I mean, if you liked the original Blade Runner, there's probably something here for you. The problem is, and I'm not exaggerating, it takes about 2 hours and 20 minutes for that to become relevant. So unless you're super patient, you're probably going to be frustrated like we were. All right, on to best scene. Geiger, can you dig one up from this movie?
When he goes home and his girlfriend's like a really hot computer chip, but you can see her, it's almost Westworld-ish. And actually, I think they kind of steal it from Westworld in a lot of ways. It just shows me that in the future there's hope. He came home, she didn't have a million questions for him or anything. He just had a nice steak dinner, and then she changed outfits into something really sexy, and then they had sex. So, I mean, there's hope in 2049, guys, so just hold on.
God, that's the one thing that is keeping me, that got me through this movie. My best scene is very short. It's probably about 25 to maybe 40 seconds long. But there's a scene where Ryan Gosling, for a brief period, actually does some Blade Runner shit. He does a little bit of martial arts. He shoots a gun a few times. And I actually perked up in my seat for a second before I went back into my pseudo-comatose state, just hoping that the runtime would end. So there is a brief scene in here. And one thing I will say, man, we're shitting on the movie a lot. One thing I thought Denis Villeneuve did pretty well was the actual cinematography in this movie looks pretty good. The problem is you just roll your eyes because that's all it is. There's nothing behind it, and you're just like, wow, man, so I guess you kind of know how to make a movie, but what's happening on screen? All right, impacts on pop culture. Geiger.
Okay, so obviously I'm not going to give this too high. I just want to talk to the people that think this could be an Oscar movie, because this was definitely, I think, aimed at being an Oscar movie the way it was directed. I just want to give you a quick kind of note. If you're going to be one of those people that say, we don't fucking understand this, it's over our head, listen, man, I've been on that couch. I've eaten shrooms with you. I've smoked weed with you. I know where you're going with this. This is not one of those movies. It's not Clockwork Orange. I think Doctor Strange has more of a chance of being kind of a stoner, druggy movie where there's a deeper meaning, bro. You just don't fucking understand it because you live in corporate America. This is not one of those movies at all. It went way over everyone's head. They don't even know what the fuck they're trying to be. Gosling... I like Gosling, but he is not this role. He's not Leo that could carry a movie by himself. He needs other actors around him to pick him up and play after. You can't just watch, unless you're a chick just thinking that he's, God's gift to you. He's not a great actor. He's just not, which is fine. He's good in his own way, but this movie misses the point. I get that it has dark and ominous tones. The directing is pretty good, but the story falls flat. There's no impact on pop culture. The great actors in this, Harrison Ford does not care anymore. Jared Leto is underutilized again, and Gosling is basically there to carry the load.
Yeah, let me just really quickly articulate we probably have two ladies who listen out there. Hey, Mom. This is the impact on pop culture. This movie has such a poor narrative that even looking at Ryan Gosling could not get me through it. So that's how fucking bad it is in that regard. Two brief impacts on pop culture, and Geiger, I told you this before the pod. Jared Leto is the player we've seen him make an all-star team, but how many more years are we going to keep blaming the coach and the GM for your poor performances? Dude, Jared Leto is an all-world talent. I saw Dallas Buyers Club. We've seen him as 30 Seconds to Mars. The dude is talent.
Requiem for a Dream.
Requiem for a Dream. He's got talent oozing out of him. But you gotta pick better roles. And I'm not saying that him as the Joker isn't good or him as this villain isn't good, but you need to be in a picture where they let you act. Because right now, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on whoever, but it's a trend now. The second thing is, 35 years between the original Blade Runner and this. I think this movie, if it gets the reception that I'm expecting it will, this might kill the whole, hey, let's go revisit that sequel from 25 years ago. Because I don't think there's been a success with any of those in the past 4 or 5 years. And there's been enough of them as a sample size to say, this shit doesn't work. Rewatchability, Geiger, need I ask?
I wouldn't ask my own worst enemy to rewatch this. I'll never rewatch it again. I would have walked out if we didn't have to do this podcast. The only person I'd want to watch it is maybe ISIS, because they suck. Let me tell you something, though. On Rotten Tomatoes, I think this will get an okay score, because critics are so fat, stupid, and sniffing their own wine that they're scared to give this a bad score, because then they think they'll get their critic fucking card taken from, because, you don't understand directing, but they can shit on movies like comic book movies because they don't understand the comic books. But watch for this to actually maybe get a 70% on Rotten Tomatoes, sadly.
Rewatchability for me, this movie was so boring that I actually checked the score of the WNBA Finals Game 5
shit.
in the middle of the theater. I'm not going to see it again, guys. It's visually great. If someone says, what do you think of this still shot of the movie? I'll be like, that's pretty cool, but I'm not going to watch it again. If you have a different opinion, we're not saying you're wrong, but it was just not our type of movie. If you're a bro out there who likes a fun time at the movies, you want to get drunk, you want to have fun with your friends, you want to see cool twists, I just don't think you'll like this one, man. Save your $15, watch it somewhere else. All right, guys. For Matt Geiger, I'm Jeff Hornacek. We have been the Bro 4 Squad. Be sure to check us out at bro4squad.com. We have a squad blog there you will love. Also, check out the Bro 4 Squad Hall of Fame. Give us a follow on Twitter at Bro 4 Squad. Subscribe to us on YouTube and iTunes, Bro 4 Squad, 3 words. If you leave us an iTunes review, we'll read the shit out of it on our show. And give us a like on Facebook, Bro 4 Squad Podcast. Thank you guys. And if you're a replicant, honestly, we don't care. Just go be a robot somewhere else. Thanks.
What was the under over on the WNBA game? 12 points?
Yeah, I lost $4.